Excited to be back here, even though last year was pretty dramatic. I mean, now thinking back, it's like whatever, not a big deal. But it was a pretty big deal back then. Yeah, happy to be back. I'm excited to see a lot of my friends from Canada and from all my Facebook friends and following. This is such a fun time. I love Naples. I love Florida. I just don't like its governor. Not a fan of DeSantis. But here I am. Who knows what's gonna happen? You know, I come here and it's like the stuff that happened last year. It's dangerous to know that, you know, people are sparking fanatics that could go crazy over me being here playing in the female division. And there's always that little thought in the back of my head, you know, expect the unexpected. What could happen? You know, in all reality, my safety is in jeopardy. Now, that sounds dramatic and stuff like that, and I try not to even think about it too much, but I do have to be cautious and kind of look over my shoulder, which is kind of sad, but hey, that's the reality, especially here in Florida. And all I know is I got a lot of great people around me. I love this community. I'm friends with a lot of really good pros and tournament directors and league facilitators and stuff, so I've got a lot of backup, we'll say, I guess, but you never know what kind of craziness could happen. So, you know, enough with the dramatics, but thought I'd bring it up. Beautiful day, really excited to be here. Just wanted to give you guys a little pre-tour. I'll keep you guys...
Say when, producer.
Thank you.
Okay.
It was a great intro. It was great.
Are we good? Are we good, chat? Let me know if we're good. Okay, producer saying we're good, but I don't trust her. That's all right. Hi. Okay.
It was a great intro. Hi.
Welcome to the TransPositions. Let me know if tonight we're having a little bit of a talk. Okay, producer saying TransPositions presents what are we calling this anyway? I even forget that. Boy, I'm bad at this. What did we call this thing? Passion, right? Can we call it? Oh yes, TransPositions voices. So forgive me. I'm if the producer can screw up, so can I. Anyway, we're here to we like to chat with some people, and Sarah and I are both folks involved in sports, and we're going to talk about the joys we bring to our sport and the passion that we bring to our sport. And we're going to talk about having fun, mostly. We're going to talk about how some people like to impose other ideas on the fun we have, but we're going to try to keep it as light as possible. Maybe I'll get snippy at some point, but y'all know me, so let's go. Sarah, tell us about yourself, what you do, what your sport is, and we'll take it from there.
Sure. Well, first of all, thank you for having me. I really appreciate it. It's always a pleasure to come on and talk about pickleball, my favorite. Was not my favorite years ago, though. I can't believe it came into my life and just changed everything. I was never into sports, never. Aside from middle school, I did like volleyball. So back in middle school, I played a little bit of volleyball. I loved it, but I never took it beyond that. High school, didn't care for sports, didn't really watch sports. I grew up in Ottawa, Canada, where hockey was the thing. It was hockey, hockey, hockey. And now I'm in Minnesota where hockey is still the thing. And I never got into hockey, didn't really get into skating much, never did the whole football or tennis or anything that was physical. Didn't really care much. But I did like going to the gym. I always liked to be fit. I did a lot of yoga. So 10 years ago, I transitioned and I stayed fit with my, fitness regime and always cared about my health, but I never cared about sports. Well, I guess 3 years ago now, just under 3 years ago, during COVID times, a friend took me to a tennis court. Well, what he thought was a tennis court because he wanted to teach me tennis. And when we got there, it was not the same size as a tennis court. We had no idea what it was. And he was so confused. He was baffled. He's like, I don't know what this is, but this can't be a tennis court. And I'm like, I don't know. I'm here because of you. I don't know what I'm doing. And he keeps hitting me the ball because like we wanted to try. He's like, I don't know what this is, but this can't be. It's too small. And we left and we looked it up. We Googled it and we found out about pickleball, where the top female at the time, and she's still the top female, she was 14 years old at the time. We're like, what is this sport? And it was kind of obscure, and it was an obscure sport back then. But now, 2.5, 3 years later, this sport's blowing up. I mean, anyone who's watching, I would assume that 90 to 95% of the people watching know what pickleball is, and probably at least half of them have tried it. It is so fun. It's so fun. It's changed my life. So I've been playing for 2.5 years. When I first started, I sucked. I wasn't super coordinated. My friend would beat me up and down the court, and I sucked. I actually told him, like, can you please stop doing that and like actually hit me the ball so I can actually feel like I'm decent at this? Please be nice to me. And he started to do that. He's like, fine. He'd be like, there you go. And yay, hit it. But then I started to like really enjoy it, and I played against some people, and I started to get better and better. And all of a sudden I was like, this is like lighting something up inside of me that I've never felt before. It lit a fire, a spark, something that just like when I wake up, I want to go play. And I've never had something like that in my life. I used to be a life coach. Actually, I'm still a life coach. I still coach people virtually across the globe. But it was everything to me. Coaching people was everything to me. I'd wake up and I would live on Zoom calls. I would be doing one-on-ones, group calls, webinars, and I created sales funnels, and I was selling myself because I was helping a lot of people, and I was making really great money. I was having a lot of impact. I did a lot of public speaking. I'm a best-selling author, been on lots of podcasts. But I was burning out. I was burning out big time. I was giving. And I have 2 children of my own who I love and I love to give attention to. And I wasn't being able to give them the kind of attention I wanted to give them. And I was just, again, living in front of the computer, which is not the greatest life. So how I ended up finding pickleball, I believe, is because one day I was sitting on the couch and it was like in the middle of the day and I was tired I was like burnt out. And I'm watching Netflix, and at 15 minutes into the Netflix show I was watching, I got this typical anxiety of, I got to go be productive. What am I doing sitting on my butt watching Netflix in the middle of the day? I got to do something. I got to help my clients. I got to get more product and I got to build and I create and go. And I was like, man, I'm 33 years old. I don't want to feel that way. I don't want that to be my life. I'm 33. What the heck am I doing where I feel burnt out doing something I love? And I still love to coach. I love sharing my secrets and teaching people how to go from, mediocre lives where they're like limiting themselves and they have doubts and insecurities to exploding through that stuff and finding their greatest passions and purpose in life and focusing on what they're meant for. And when you feel burnt out doing something you love, it kills your heart, your drive, your soul. So I'm sitting there and I'm watching Netflix and I'm like, what is it that I truly want? Because I'm living in my purpose. I'm very passionate about what I do. Why am I feeling this way? Like, what do I got to do? What am I missing? And when I'm sitting there as a life coach, this is what I tell everyone: is sink into your heart, forget about the thoughts, because the thoughts, they get messy, right? We all have that hurricane going sometimes. Right. And it gets messy and crazy. And sometimes like the thoughts that you hear are like, oh, I don't know if I agree with these thoughts. So You got to turn those off sometimes and just shush, and go into your heart, which is a feelings thing. It's not necessarily an emotion thing. It's a feeling. I feel. So I'm sitting on the couch and I like went deep and I'm like, I need to soul search and feel what I need. What do I need right now? And it screamed, it jumped out at me. It's like fun. Fun is what I was missing. I had some joy, but it wasn't like that fun, exciting joy. It was the joy of like fulfillment because I was helping and impacting a lot of people. But it wasn't the fun and fulfillment of just doing something for the fun of it. No purpose, no intention, just fun. I'm like, okay. So that's what I think, that's what I feel I need to go after. And I just let it be. It was 2 months later that I was taken onto the pickleball court. And as soon as I started playing it and feeling it, I was like, this is it. I knew it. Thank you. Thank you. God, source, energy, whatever it is. I don't have a label for it. Just I know that, there's something bigger than us. And I felt very connected in that moment to whatever gave me that opportunity to find my fun again. It was a blast. And as I, continued to love it and love it more and more and more, wake up and go to sleep thinking about it and watching YouTube videos about how to do it because I just wanted to get better and better and better. I started to see that I actually had like talent and potential. And I, obviously the work ethic was there. And I was like, I think I could take this far, not only as a player, but as an entrepreneur. I saw it as a blue ocean and I was like, I want to make my life pickleball. The biggest aha moment that I've ever had that seems silly, so silly at the time. I want to make my life pickleball. Most people haven't even heard of it, yet I want to make it my life. And, here we are today. I just played the US Open. I played pro, got my butt kicked, but also won some matches. So I'm very proud. And I know that I do belong there. And it's going to be a lot of work. And I love the work. And I'm having fun. And I'm coaching people. I love it.
Was this your first Open? Was this your first U.S. major tournament? Or?
Well, okay. So no, this was my second U.S. Open. I did one last year, and that's where things got weird. So if you'd like, I can share a little bit about my first U.S. Open experience, which was messy. I was there for 3 days before a Twitter post went pretty viral, outing me. Using the transgender label, and because most people didn't know about it. In fact, my mixed doubles partner, he had no idea. I had played tournaments with him before. I had stayed at his house in Florida for a Florida tournament. And when this, viral post happened on Twitter, so it mentally messed me up a little bit. I've never experienced anything like this. It was very, very toxic and nasty, like super nasty. And I'm not the type of person that's like, just because you have a different opinion than me means it's mean and you're being mean. Not like that. Because you can disagree with me all you want. I will debate and keep it not personal all day long. But there was some nasty stuff. And it hurt a little bit. And I, went through my emotions and I was like sad and hurt and impacted and stuff. And then I was like, I had to self-coach myself. It's like, what would I tell myself or tell someone who was like hurt by this? It would be show up, just go. And I didn't want to go back to that tournament, but I did anyways. And so many good things happened. I met so many amazing people. The mixed doubles partner of mine actually backed out of playing with me. He had no idea until then. And then he backed out and someone else stepped in and I played. And, for all the social media stuff that was happening, I've never once in my life experienced any negativity in person at any tournament, no confrontations. No one's ever walked off the court or told me anything nasty or said, oh, I'm not playing against you. In fact, quite the opposite.
This was just last year then.
This is last year's US Open.
And, how long have you been playing in sport?
Just under 3 years.
Okay. So this was like, and obviously you hadn't, you said you transitioned 10 years ago, right? Something like that. So nobody ever knew your, any sort of prior history or anything like that. So, did you figure out how the how the
There's enough
uh,
stuff online. Like I've been on many
okay,
podcasts and, it's
okay,
not usually the main topic of what I'm talking about on a podcast. Usually it's about how to better yourself, live a happier, healthier life. But it
okay,
does come up every once in a while, and I'm not ashamed of it or afraid of it, and I don't mind talking about it. It's just not how I identify myself. So there is stuff online, and I've written a book
hmm,
about my life, and the first few chapters do
okay,
talk about it. So it's out there. So, but my guess is that somebody messaged them and said, I don't agree with this. You should post about it. It would be my guess. I don't know that they who knows? Doesn't matter
yeah,
because it was a really great thing to happen. As it was happening and I'm like bawling in my Airbnb in the back of my head, it's like, this is good for you. There's no but bad publicity. And I was like, I know, but ow, my ego was hurting. But I go to the tournament and I had so many people come up to me and said, I saw what's going on. And I know you don't know me, but can I take a picture with you? You're so awesome. We love you. And it was a ton of that. And the amount of fans I have now and following who've been watching my journey, not because of that scenario, but how I've handled it. Because I understand how much pain there is in the world, especially right now. And, since COVID and everything, when someone's lashing out, all I think is, gosh, I wish you were happier. I wish I could give you a squishy hug so you could realize that I'm not a threat to you or anybody,
right.
that we could have some fun, we could have some joy, and not let whatever insecurity is causing you to lash out and project whatever pain and anger you have on me. I always just want to give them a hug. So because I've handled it that way, a lot of people have just been like, wow, you're awesome and all that stuff. And I just appreciate my tribe so, so much. The amount of support that I have, like when people online, again, it's only online, when people online say things, and I post in the pickleball forum endlessly. I always post, no matter what. And people will comment saying,
Sure.
you got advantages, you got this, and da, 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 and sometimes it's nasty. I don't even respond anymore. My fans go in there and they're like, get out of here, you bigot, da 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 da. I'm just like, oh, cool. I got some backup. I don't have to respond to that stuff anymore. And I never should have. I should never have to justify who I am, why I am, how I am, what makes me happy. I know for me that I'm not cheating anybody, because that's what people will say. You're cheating, you're taking away opportunities from other actual women, biological women. You don't belong there, and all these things. And in the beginning, I felt like I had to justify myself and tell people some of the truths, because I know that my opinion means this, but my experiences, you can't argue. Here's my experiences. I can barely do 10 push ups. I'm not kidding. I'm not exaggerating. On the 10th push up, I'm like this. I don't have a strength advantage. There's many women out there taller than me. There's many women faster and stronger. So when you're talking about me having some kind of like Hulk advantage, it's just not the case. It's not true, not even close.
It's
And
a
I
you
actually,
thing. It's
right.
when it comes to that sort of thing, when people are making those sorts of arguments, it's definitely a them thing. I have a brief anecdote. I'll tell you a little bit of my story along the way so that you get the idea where the anecdote's coming from. I transitioned at the age of, well, I started transition at the age of 44. I had spent from about 24 to 44 as a sailmaker and as a sailor, learning all of this stuff. Eventually, since world sailing actually has categories, sailing, unlike pickleball, is an Olympic sport, and we do have a world governing body that is under the International Olympic Committee, so we follows the rules. Well, anyway, I under the rules, under the world sailing rules, I'm a professional sailor because I manufacture equipment, g- make my living giving people good advice on the race course, that sort of thing. So yeah, I take money from people. People pay me money to go sailing with them and make their racing results better. So I had this part of my uh, this part of my life well in advance, and I transitioned in midlife, right, 44-ish. I got to a point, maybe 7 years after that, where maybe half the people knew me from from a before standpoint, and another half didn't. And the thing about the transition was nobody cared.
It's amazing.
Nobody cared. What people cared the most about, what my competitors cared the most about, what my friends cared the most about, was that I could be happy. There were very few people that had a huge problem. They had a little bit of a problem. It's like, well, that's odd, but I didn't know that about you. I'll be glad to know you.
The real you, yeah.
And but this was a different day and age and a different time. There wasn't a whole political movement built about demonizing one particular portion of the population. It was a personal thing that we worked out anyway. So I've since then have had actually better experiences within my sport because I'm competing as myself. I found more joy, more excitement, and eventually, with that kind of comfort, sailing is a very cerebral sport, and you have to be on all the time because the decisions you make have to be instantaneous. It's not a constant, chasing the ball kind of thing. It's a sit and think and say, where do we need to be on the race course to take advantage of the shifting conditions and all of this kind of stuff. It's a really, really tricky game to play. And the more comfortable you can be in being in the moment, the better off you are. And being yourself is the best medicine for success, probably in that sport and probably in life. So anyway, I eventually was doing some officiating. I also am a certified race official, and I was doing some officiating at a regatta in Marblehead. It was a team, rather. It wasn't. No, it was a match racing event, and there's a whole platoon of umpires that are on the race course, and so there's this massive cluster of officials. And after the event was over, the chief judge, the chief umpire, the organizer, myself, and another judge who was coming from Texas, who came up from Texas to be an umpire at the event, went out for dinner, and we're sitting at the dinner table, and we're having just jawing away, talking about the event and all of this stuff, and then we get around to talking about sports in general, and this guy out of the blue brings up, well, I don't really feel all that comfortable about trans women competing. And it's like, and I'm just sitting there going, okay. And he's just going on and on. He was from Texas, so he's soaking in transphobia that is going on in Texas. So at one point, I said, "That's really interesting. Now, have you ever met a trans person?" And he said, "No, no, I've never met a trans person." I said, "Well, you have now." Does it make a difference to you now? Did you still have fun this weekend? Did we still put on a good regatta? Did I still do what a principal race officer ought to do on the race course? Do you not want me to be at any of your events ever again simply because I'm trans? I gave him something to think about. Let's put it that way.
Good. Yeah, it feels good to open people's mind. There was there've been a number of people who've vocalized their discomfort or at least lack of understanding of how I, where I belong in sports because I play in the female division as I should. I
Mm-hmm.
remember one lady, I was on a closed call with a group of women who play pickleball. I was invited as a guest speaker. They do this like bi-weekly meetup thing. And this one lady she's someone who had commented on a post before saying, I don't agree that you should be playing in the female division. She was on that call and she vocalized it again. And I kind of just shared my experience. Again, not really opinions, but here's what here's who I am. If you're going to have these feelings, get to know someone, just like you said, meet someone first.
Right.
So, she met me and we were talking and I was asking her questions. Why do you feel this way? Why do you think that? What's your reasoning behind this and that and this and that? By the end of the call, she said, you definitely belong there. And I think if you go pro, you're going to be my favorite female pro.
I love it. I love it. I love it. And this is the thing. This is the thing. This is I don't think that people outside of sports really understand how much our competitors want us to play the game.
I
You
get
know,
I'm
it's
constantly reminded by people that I'm where I belong, but like by my competitors and my partners, so many women have messaged me on Facebook saying, "Hey, I just found out about you, and I know a little bit more of your background. I just want to say I support you. I will gladly compete against or with you any day." I've gotten that message so many times, and it's funny because I see on social media, why don't women just walk off the court and not play against her? It's like that's actually the opposite of what happens. So most of the time when I see these comments, it's like, you don't actually play sports, do you? Or you don't actually play at least at a high level. Because like at the high level, all these competitors want to play the best. It has nothing to
yeah,
do with pasts. I don't care if someone was a drug addict or alcoholic when they're playing me on the court. If you are good enough to compete, it doesn't matter what your past, your history was. I don't hang out with drug addicts and alcoholics, but on the court, if that's your past, leave it behind you. We're on the court now and we're playing, especially at an elite level. Trust me, you're not a drug addict or alcoholic on the court.
right.
You're not going to make it very far. So all I'm trying to say is that I don't care about your past. I just want to play a good game. I just want to meet someone the other day, a friend of ours. He had the greatest quote. He said to someone, "I just want to play a lot of pickleball, make 1,000 new friends, and have fun with my life." I'm like, yes, yes,
Yeah, that's fine. Let's just do that.
yeah.
So, most of my time in sailing has been, going to boring US sailing meetings and doing the more fun stuff, which is to say participating as an active competitor, and I've done pretty well. I've been entrusted with positions of responsibility in sailing organizations, both before and after transition, because people want a certain level of expertise, want the knowledge, and I not very long after I transitioned, maybe 4 or 5 years in, the director of the J24 class, J24, there you go, World Championship, asked me to write an article, and this would have been somewhere around 2005 or so for the class magazine to talk about my experience because people were just simply curious. And this is the difference between then and now. People were just simply curious. And I said, sure, I'll do that. And I wrote in that article, sailing saved my life. The the friendliness of my competitors and the support of my friends through a major life transition was so valuable to me that the sport itself means all that much more.
I love
So,
it. Yeah,
you know,
it feels so good. I see that someone's asking what pickleball is.
why
Pickleball is
don't we go ahead and why don't we go ahead and answer all the pickleball questions?
Yeah, I guess I didn't really explain what it is. I kind of mentioned that we went to a tennis court, or what we thought was a tennis court, but it's much smaller, and we were confused, and that's how we found out what pickleball was. So it's played on a smaller tennis court with a couple different lines. It's kind of a mix between tennis and ping pong. So you have a hard paddle, it's like this big, and you hit a wiffle ball, pretty much a plastic ball with holes in it, and you hit it across the net. Typically played with doubles. You can play single as well. But it's like it's mini tennis meets ping pong. That's basically it. It's got a bunch of rules and a bunch of weird score calling and stuff like that. It took me like so long to figure out how to do the score calling and all the little rules and stuff. But once you get it, you get it. And it's just the funnest thing. It's so simple. It's easy to play, to get on the court. Like I played against one lady. She's, I think, 86 years old, sweetest lady, and she doesn't have massive movement, but she's fully mobile. I don't even think she was someone who was wearing, like, you'll see people out there on the courts wearing all the bionic, the arm braces, leg braces, and all this stuff. But this lady, I don't think she was wearing any braces, and she was all there mentally, physically, emotionally, super funny. She had a great sense of humor. I'd say, she had this big bottle of water. Like, that's a lot of water. She's like, you think that's water? That's vodka. She was awesome. She was so cool. I loved playing her. It's just so you meet the coolest people on the court, and anyone can get out there. And it's not so like hard on the joints like tennis. You got to like really give her, and you got to move a lot. And on pickleball, again, smaller court, play doubles and stuff like that. There's not as much movement. So I had one lady who had weight issues, and she was very like insecure about them. I'm like, just hop on the court and hit the ball back and forth. Don't have to move. Just stand there. And God, to see her face light up, just because she was doing something active. And it's you kind of get like a dopamine fit. You hit the ball over the net, and it comes back, and you start to get into a rally going back and forth. And it's like, whoa, I'm playing something physical. It's a physical activity, and it's like, it's a sport. So even without all, like, at the pro level, it's hard hitting, you're using topspin, backspin, slices, and it's fast hands battles and stuff. Even at the lowest level where you're just hitting back and forth, the level of fun and activity, and it's like a low entry fee for your physicality. You could play a game and it not kill you, it not make you want to just like, keel over. So I have found that so many people can just hop on the court and have a bunch of fun with it. So that's pickleball, and for me, it's turned into something, uh, a bit of a career, actually, quite a bit of a career. Me and my boyfriend will play pro together. Whole other story, playing with your boyfriend on court.
Oh, we can get into that. That's a good story.
It is. It is. It's not easy. But I one of my mentors told me this, and I tell everyone that I mentor, how you do one thing is how you do everything. So you learn a lot about yourself on the court. And I'm sure it's the same. You learn a lot about yourself when you're sailing, right? Anything that you do, especially if you do it on the regular, if it's a hobby or a sport or whatever, how you do it is how you do everything. So you can learn a lot about yourself. So when me and him are on the court and we're either squabbling or doing really, really well, there's so much we can take from that. And we have a lot of communication after we play, talking about, how can we better support each other? How can we be better partners? How can we avoid the conflict we might have gone through? So yeah, sometimes we have these, like, you've got to separate boyfriend and girlfriend from pickleball team. You can't be boyfriend and girlfriend while playing a sport. You've got to be a pickleball squad. You can't be boyfriend and girlfriend because things become personal. It's like anything that happens, if I misunderstand what he's doing or his facial looks, if I look at it and I think, oh, well, he's being rude with his facial expressions, and I take it personal, obviously that's not good. That's not the way to be. So you got to learn how to kind of separate and segregate that stuff and treat it like a
Well,
sport, almost like a job, you know?
well, at least he's safe. You can't pick him up and throw him in the water, which actually happened
I suppose
to
you had that
a
option, yeah.
friend of mine. They're a married couple sailing together. They're the I don't want to be pejorative, but the guy was being an asshole and just screaming at his spouse about turning the spinnaker, and they held it together, won the race, crossed the finish line. She picked up the oar and smacked him overboard. So that can't happen on a pickleball
Oh
court, but
my
I
God.
understand the sentiment.
Yeah. Yeah. It's good to you almost want to like sometimes it's not good to play with your significant other. And I know people, I know friends of mine who they will not play together. They have to let each other go. Like if they do tournaments, they let each other play with different partners because they just can't figure it out. And it'll become divorce court.
Mhm.
We've seen some fights, we've seen some battles. Not often. It's a rare thing to see, but every once in a while you see the fighting on the court, whether it's couples or not couples. I've seen battles over court. You know, like you haven't gotten off the court and it's our turn. I've seen that a couple times.
Really?
Yeah,
This
yeah.
is hardcore.
It is so hardcore. People are very, very passionate about the sport. You know, it came out of nowhere during COVID when everyone was kind of going insane and bored and all that stuff. And so many people just got like so hooked into it that, you know, the passion can flare up some stuff and some people get a little heated every once in a while, which is
I
interesting.
wonder if you want to talk a little bit about how passion can both fuel and uh, impede performance.
Ah, that's a great. Yeah, I love talking about that. As someone who coaches, so I coach strategy and technique in person on the court with players, and I also coach on Zoom the mindset stuff because as I come from life coaching, high performance, life, business, and relationship coaching, that is very important. And I talk a lot about the zone. I never knew about the zone because I wasn't really into sports, but I knew about like flow state, you know, when I be coaching and it's like I don't really think about what I'm talking about. Anytime I'm on a call, it's like it's instinctive and you got to kind of get into a flow state, which is free from distraction. So when we're talking about how passion can either elevate or impede, it's about the emotional state that we get in. So if we are, say, sailing and we're frustrated, maybe we made the wrong move and something happened and things got choppy and we get emotional, that's not good. We don't want to get emotional to a point where we're frustrated, angry, or any of these things because it distracts us from what we need to be focusing on. We need to be hyper focused. It's the same in pickleball, it's the same in anything we're doing. If we get too emotional, and that includes celebrating, if you're celebrating in the middle of a match, you're getting too happy, too excited, too woohoo, you are actually taking yourself out of the zone. The zone requires no thought and no feeling. It is a hyper focus on what you're there for and a release of thought. So you just operate from instinct. So that passion, while it's fun to get hyped up and excited while you just hit an awesome shot, it actually distracts you from you being your best instinctive self. You don't want to be on the court and be thinking about things. If you're thinking about what went wrong in the last move or where you want to be at the end of the game, you want to have that medal and you're really focused and you have this expectation for winning and stuff, then you're not present. You want to be present. You want to be there so that your instincts are extremely quick to react. If you're thinking about things, if you're feeling a bunch of emotions, that distraction keeps you out of the zone. And to maintain yourself in the zone, you want to be focused on one thing, the ball, and staying present. So one thing I tell a lot of people, if you're starting to get distracted, maybe you're frustrated that you made a couple errors or your partner is being rude or whatever it is that comes, and there's so many distractions. In pickleball, a ball could roll onto your court from another court and then happen like 5 more times, or your opponents could be making bad out calls, or the wind is blowing the ball. I mean, or there's so many distractions. When these come in, you want to be able to take that emotion, take those thoughts, and do something with them. So what I teach my clients is redirect your focus. What I like to do to get present is to measure myself from where I started. Where did I start? I sucked at this game. And all I knew is I loved it and I was having fun. Now look where I'm at. I'm competing against people I looked up to. I'm here. Those are my competitors who I love, I appreciate. I've got friends in front of me. I'm outside instead of indoors, sulking or watching TV. I'm somewhere, I'm happy. I have so much joy and so much passion. It's like, I'm here. And then you start the rally, you take a deep breath, focus on that ball. So the passion is great, but it can also be distracting from keeping you in the zone.
I there's an awful lot of resonance there, an awful lot of resonance, and it differs from game to game. It differs from sport to sport. It differs in the sense that there are certain other considerations that you have to keep in mind as part of the game. For example, in sailing, where is the person you need to beat in that race if you're fleet racing? Because most races are not match races. Match racing is a completely different game. Uh, the game of racing. So there's a number of other considerations you have to, but then those considerations just have to be in a little bucket. And where you need to be is where you are in the present and what you're facing in the present. And what are the moves you can anticipate, one or two or three tacks along the way, one or two or three jibes along the way. But yeah, and there is nothing like if you can get there for an entire match or for an entire race and stay there. There's nothing like finishing, knowing that you've been there, even if you didn't finish first. Mm-hmm. You know that you were there, you were present for the entire encounter. And if you finish first, it's very, very sweet. It's an incredible high. Like, well, I mean, we finished a regatta last fall, the last regatta I sailed in, actually, and qualified for the Worlds. We knew what we had to do going into the last race. We didn't think about it. We just did it. And, we crossed the finish line and looked at each other and said, I think we just won the regatta. And it was exactly that. I think we just won the regatta. And then we checked the numbers and yep, we just won the regatta. Woo!
Yeah, that's so awesome. And, like you said, you don't notice because you're so dialed in.
Yeah. It's a remarkable place to be. And I think that there are other places in life where you can feel that. I mean, like when you complete a project, it's a similar sort of thing that you've bored down on for quite some time, and you've managed to pull through. But yeah, it's just one of those things. There's something about the competition aspect in that thing that is somewhat addictive. It keeps us coming back.
Primal, right? It's kind of like animalistic. I mean, if I were to describe it, because I've never really been there. I've played a little bit of sports again in middle school. Like I played volleyball, and I was very into it. And I was like a little bit passionate about it, but not even close to the level I am on this. But in that time, whatever 30 years or so, I have never experienced anything like this where it's pure instinctive and you've really got to think on your feet and have reflexes and you got to make really quick decisions and you've got to just flow with it and you don't have enough time to have well thought out directions. There's no time for that. You have to just be in the moment. And to be like that for a certain amount of time and to be kind of free, it's very freeing. You're not thinking about all your responsibilities and the bills and the children, which I love my kids so very much, but it's interesting to not think about them for like a little bit of time where I just have to perform what I've trained and I've drilled over and over and over and over, everything that I've taught myself mentally, physically, the strategies, the patterns, everything that I've, put into work. Now I let it all out. And when you let it out, it's got to be instinctive. You can't overthink it because if you're overthinking it, you're distracting yourself. And there's just no time to make that decision because it happens like this. So you have to just react. And that is like animalistic. It's like you watch yourself do it. It's almost like an outer body experience. You're kind of watching yourself perform. You see a shot come at you, and it's like you don't have enough time to decide. Am I going to topspin roll that? Am I going to backspin slice it? Am I going to put it over there, there? That happens. That calculation happens in a split second, and it's like it's happening. You feel it. It's like you're thinking it, but you're not, because it's instinctive. But it's happening, and it's like your mind, your heart, your soul just makes the decision and acts on it. And it just feels so cool because you're watching it happen as if it's not even you. It's really cool.
Yeah, I wonder, sort of. We've been having so much fun just talking about the passion we bring and the joy we receive out of our sports. I hate to bring the whole trans issue into it at this point, because it seems like that's something for the spectators. And
Hey,
and
spectators, yes, that
you
label
said,
exists.
huh?
Hey, spectators, yes, that label still exists. I forget sometimes. I forget that I'm associated with
Yeah,
that, or that we are.
right. And that's the thing. I certainly don't. It's I feel the imposition only from outside. I don't. If it weren't for state legislatures and political parties and
Yes.
for other people making a big deal out of it, it wouldn't be a big deal, because it really isn't a big deal. You can look at the numbers. It certainly isn't a big deal. If on any given day I perform well in a sailboat race, it's not because uh, uh, or it has nothing to do with a particular characteristic of mine that happens to be rare in the human species. It's got nothing to do with that. And why would anybody even freaking care about it? Which is why I thought it was interesting when we started our conversation. You say, I don't identify with the label. And I wonder if that's because other people have identified the label for you and it's something you don't want to buy.
Yeah, I don't care to be put into any type of box. The
Yeah.
things that I would say identify me are my
Yeah.
personality. I'm bubbly, I'm passionate, I'm energetic, I'm a mother of two, and I love my kids, and I'm a very hard worker. I'm highly ethical. I have very strong work ethic. These are things that if you say, yes, that is Sara. Transgender says nothing. It says nothing
It
about me.
doesn't. Yeah.
So it's like saying I'm white. What does that have anything to do with me? Has nothing to do with me. People can attach whatever meaning they want to a label like white or transgender or girl. I mean, again, I don't even sit here saying I am woman. I am a mother. I am a passionate, driven individual. I'm an entrepreneur. I do these things actually describe who I am. Woman can mean so many things, whether you're cis, trans, or any other type of woman. There's so many things that make a woman, and no two women are identical or do the exact same things or think the exact same things or feel the exact same things. So even
It,
woman as a label is meaningless, in my
and
opinion, as far as describing
it
someone.
is something that someone will uh, will conceive of for themselves and will conceive of for others. And the balance is like, how much do you want to label your own preconceptions, uh, laid your own preconceptions on somebody else. And it seems to me that the people that have the biggest problem with trans people generally are people who with very, very, very small imaginations and very, very small degrees of a very, very small capacity for empathy. It's like, huh, that's funny, that's interesting, tell me about it, tell me about
I find
you.
that's fascinating. When I first
Yeah.
started to realize that my thoughts actually that I wasn't crazy and I'm not the only one, when I realized that, and that was in my 20s, it's like, oh my God, there's other people who feel this way, who have these thoughts and have these feelings that don't match. I was like fascinated. I'm like, whoa, I mean, this is unique. This is special. This is something that I shouldn't be resisting, which I did for 26 years. I resisted it and I denied it and I tried to stuff it away and say, I wish I could be normal and be different. And da, da, da. It's like, I finally got to a point where I'm like, this is actually really freaking special. I'm like, I'm blown away that I got chosen to be this kind of person. I know
Yep.
I'm going to face all kinds of stuff for it. I know that I'm going to go through a weird transition and weird time in my life, and I'm going to go through a second puberty and all these things. It was very uncomfortable and all this stuff.
I don't recommend that, by the way, in
No,
case anybody's.
no, because legit, it's a second puberty. I had to learn how to control my emotions. I was mood swinging and I was like crying about everything. I was like, "Am I depressed?" My mom's like, "No, honey. Get used to if you cry doesn't mean you're sad or
But
depressed."
but it's a unique thing that you just like. It's how do you describe that to somebody who's never done it? Just you don't. It's just
Yeah,
it's
well,
like
you know, we all have our unique things, and a lot of people kind
yeah.
of like try to, hide their uniqueness. Whether it's they're a nerd, like I'm a nerd, I'm a geek. I love my Marvel superheroes, and I love my cartoons and Disney. I love all that stuff. Like, and there's people who will hide who they are because they want to be accepted as normal and stuff like that. And I've had so many people who've read my book and gotten to know me, who've thanked me, have nothing to do with the LGBT community, have thanked me just because I've shown them that it's okay to be our weird, quirky, special, unique selves. One of the biggest things I realized was it was about 3 years into my transition, and I was getting to this point where it's like I really just want to be stealth and blend in. And it was like, I saw that label as like this limitation and disadvantage. It's like I'm limited and disadvantaged in life. I have this huge disadvantage. And I'm like, I don't want to see myself that way. And I asked myself, what if it was a superpower? How can I see me being me as a superpower? How can I see that label as a superpower? And my ego came up with answers because that's what it does. My ego says, well, here's how it can be a superpower. Tell your story because it's different, it's special, it's unique, and people will listen to you. You will create a
Yeah.
fan base and a following because they want to hear something different. People on TikTok and YouTube, you know how they get views and go viral? They do something that you're not doing. I could be that. And I turned it into a superpower. That's
Yeah.
a point where I actually created a YouTube channel and I started speaking to transgender people and sharing my story and my whole transition. Here's what I went through. Here's what I'm going through. Here's what's happening. Here's how I feel. Here's what I think. I just started to share and I created a big following. And so many amazing things happened because of that. And all of a sudden, this big disadvantage was my superpower. And like I've said, I don't identify with the label, but I also know that it's something that makes me special. It makes me stand out. And it gives me a platform to speak about something that has given me strength, that has shown that barriers can be broken, that mountains can be climbed, and it's worth it to be who you truly are. It's so worth it. It's worth it to
Goddamn
face
right.
the noise, to face the people who don't think you should even exist, the people who will step on you if they have the opportunity just because you exist. It's worth facing it because it feels so goddamn amazing and freeing. I love me. And we all should get to a point where we love each other.
Goddamn right. That is so spot on. So spot on. So very much the kind of conversation we need to have, both for ourselves and for the rest of the world to hear. It's like we are very special people with very different experiences, and very uncommon. We're a rare breed. We ought to get to know because we're part of the human experience. This is not an unusual. It's a rare but not impossible experience.
Get
I
fascinated
mean,
about it. I mean, I think about if I
yeah,
had a friend go through what I went through, I'd be so fascinated. Like, tell me all about it. This is so cool. Like, how does this happen? Give me the details, girl. Like, and I would want to know everything because it is fascinating. People who are like, I just don't understand. I do you, but I just don't understand. I'm like, Neither do I. I have no fucking clue. I don't know why. I don't
Can't
understand.
tell you the number of times I've said that. It's like I said in one video that I titled one video, "Being trans is easy, living it is hard." And the only reason living it is hard is because people make it hard. It's like, why are you so concerned about this? It just doesn't matter. And the weird thing is, it never used to matter. Now it's all of a sudden a big fucking deal for people. It's oh my word.
I mean, again, I post in this pickleball forum and I post all the time. And whether it has anything to do with me playing in a women's division or whatever, someone always comments and says something. I don't even respond to it, but I'm like, you're like my biggest fan now. I've said this to multiple people, like, you're starting to become one of my biggest fans. Like, you keep commenting, keep bumping up my posts, keep giving me attention. It's cool.
Yeah,
You're
we'll take
giving
it.
me a voice. So this whole scenario where it's like a culture war, there's a lot of bad stuff that's happening and violence and legislation that is really hurting a lot of people. It gives someone like me, someone like you, we have voices, we have the ability to actually impact people in a way that's it's not hard hitting. I'm not like punching people in the face with opinions and facts and data. I'm letting people get to know me. If you're going to have an opinion on something or someone or a cause, get to know it first. So we have the opportunity to just show people who people are, who human beings are, that some people are judging and hating and whatever else, and trying to put people in boxes and discriminate and create these rules and laws and stuff because they're like afraid of something different. And they a lot of people are justifying their hate using biblical scripture and stuff like that. And it's just like, guys, just get to know us. We're humans just like you. We're just as imperfect as you. We all make mistakes just like you do. But we're all here just to try and make the most of this one life that we know we have. We know we've got this, and all I know about it is I want to enjoy each moment I can as much as possible. And if I get the opportunity to bring you into that enjoyment and joy and passion and happiness and love, then yay, yay. I'm going to bring in as many people as I can. You don't want to be part of my tribe? Cool, move along. I have a happy tribe. I love my happy tribe. If you want to be part of it, come on in. I don't care how you felt or thought about me before. If you get to a point where you're like, you know what? Actually, you're not so bad. I think you're kind of cool. Come on
Yeah.
in, baby. I forgive you for anything you've thought, said, or feel because you were uninformed. And now when you get to a point where you're feeling a little more informed, like you got a little bit more knowledge behind your opinions and beliefs, and you feel, hey, maybe you're not so bad. Come on in, baby.
Yeah. Well said. Well said. Well, we're approaching an hour. I think we've been having this conversation. It's been absolutely great. What have you got coming up for yourself?
Well, going to another tournament in Cincinnati next Sunday.
Okay.
We're heading out. My boyfriend plays singles. This was kind of a last minute thing. I'm playing mixed doubles with him in the pro division. I didn't get a women's doubles partner in time like I did in a US Open. So we've got that tournament coming up. I've got another one in Beer City. Again, not really prepared. I don't even know what's going on for it. Heading back home to Canada soon for a little bit, for a little visit. That's about it. Pickleball is life. That's my life right now.
Pickleball. Well, as I said before, I live in Maine, so the sailing season is ramping up, and I've got regattas coming through.
Let's go.
For the whole thing. So it's going to be, I'll be pretty tied up, but and another thing I'll be doing on Thursday is talking about reaching out to people. I'm a co-hosting the Transatlantic Calling Program, which is a program on the line where trans people answer. I'll be co-hosting with uh, oh my God, senior moment. Caballero, what's her first name? Oh my goodness. Anyway, uh, who ran the U.S. transgender survey and is very very active and stuff. So we'll be having a good conversation there. Josie, I was thinking Rosie, and I kept saying no, that's not right. Josie Caballero. So I'll be doing that on Thursday. And but I think that's an important. I think that's a good place to be, where don't call up and ask other. Don't call up and ask people who don't have these experiences about those experiences. Ask trans people about them. So we try to do that a little bit, and we're pretty chill. So we'd be doing that, and then sailing and sewing and trying to get the sails all fixed so that people who want to go sailing can do so. So yeah, I think this has been a great conversation. It was such a pleasure meeting you. It was
Likewise,
really fun. It was fun. It was fun talking whatever trash we have to talk about our own individual sports and the fun we have playing them.
It's the best. It's the best. Finding something you're passionate about, I highly recommend it.
Yeah. The old Joseph Campbell was a wise fella when he said, "Follow your bliss."
Yeah,
And
100% agree.
let's all try to do that a wee bit.
Yeah, I'm with you on that one.
Bree, or how much time we got? What do you want us to do here? Producer Bree. Okay. Well, look, everybody, thank you so much for watching. We do have the TransPositions does have a Discord that's pretty much going to be open for business. So you can come over and tell us what you liked about the show and what you hate about the show, what you think we can do better, and just shoot the breeze with us a wee bit. We've got a book section, books we like, a whole raft of peer-reviewed papers and stuff, that like a reference section, so that if you are interested in arguing or find yourself having to answer the people who are just asking questions, you can do that, or just talk about the crazy stuff going on. But anyway, thank you all in the chat. Thank you all who have tuned in tonight, who are tuning in the future. Please like, subscribe, and share the TransPositions. And for the TransPositions, good night from Stephanie Helms.
There are men.
Say that again?
Have you ever heard of gynecomastia?
I had it.
And so did you have that fixed?
Yes, I did.
And did that make you feel affirmed in your gender and comfortable in your body?
No, when I was in the Navy, nobody knows this, by the way. Jesus, now I'm revealing I need a HIPAA form to sign here or something.
You don't have to talk about it.
No, what I'm saying is, yes, I've had that myself and had it surgically removed when I was in the Navy. Yeah.
And do you feel more comfortable in your body and more affirmed in your gender because of that?
Well, it wasn't a gender thing for me. It was the fact, well, I can't even get into it now because it had nothing to do with my gender. Okay. So it had to do with the fact that it looked really odd.